When transplanting certain crops or plants out into the garden, such as peppers, a number of things can go wrong, and leaf scorch is one of them. So let's talk about it. So here we have some freshly transplanted peppers. This is the lunchbox, orange lunchbox mostly, peppers. So they're small sweet pepper. These are actually smaller than what they would normally be. But this one is actually from a stem cutting from last year, and I overwintered it, and this is growing. But these are the fresh plants from seed for this year. As we can see, there is a little bit of leaf scorch, pretty good amount of it, right? Where the leaves will turn like a metallic, tannish, white, almost clear, translucent kind of color to it. You can see the underside of the leaf got there because it was turned up. But some of these plants are starting to bud out with flowers. There you go. But we do have some leaf scorch, as I said. And so this leaf scorch is basically common on pepper plants and other crops too, especially when you transplant them out, right? And they're not used to that full sun, but they're also acclimating to the new soil conditions, right? Their root system has been disturbed, and so something dug in here. But so there's already some level of plant stress, and then plus it's acclimating to the different sun conditions. These were in the hoop house for the last couple of months, or last month or so, right? So they're now acclimating. Now they did get a pretty good dose of water when they were transplanted, and I think they got watered last night too. So water hasn't necessarily been a huge issue for these plants, but leaf scorch can worsen in areas, right, where there may be a lack of water for the crop. But it could also be excessive sun, really hot weather, and high winds can also exacerbate the issue. But one interesting thing that I've noticed is that on the freshly planted plants, like, there is some leaf scorch, but on the leaf cuttings, these guys seem pretty good actually, right? This was a seedling, but this one was another cutting, and overall that one's pretty good too. The stem cuttings from last year seem to be more resilient. They're a darker green leaf too to the leaf scorch than the freshly transplanted seedlings. So that's interesting. But one thing people can do or a few things people can do to prevent or lessen leaf scorch in many instances, right, is to minimize plant stress while these plants adapt to their new environment. They're being planted in outdoor conditions. We can always kind of harden them off before, right, like taking them out of the hoop house, putting them outside, maybe on a wagon or whatever, and letting them harden off during the day, bring them back in the hoop house at night, and repeat that process for a few days. That can kind of help to harden off, right? Because some of these plants in the hoop house, they are used to a certain level of water access and also sun level, right? And then also humidity differences and things like that can be different in a hoop house or a greenhouse than they are outside. And so when this plant is getting established out in the ground, it has to contend with all those different things while it is adjusting, right? So if we can give it a few days or a week or so of maybe having some row cover on top to kind of reduce that sun intensity, it might also help to buffer against some level of wind. Another option would be using some sort of clay spray onto the leaves, or like kaolin clay, and that can actually put a coating on the leaf that helps to reflect some of the sunlight, right? So, and then over a week or two or so, it'll wash off in the rain, and the plant will continue to grow. There may also be some nutrient mineral things that people may be able to do, right? Like certain nutrients maybe may help to buffer against the effects of sun scald or leaf scorch. But overall, leaf scorch isn't a huge issue. The plants will grow out of it. They'll, you know, these leaves specifically that are affected by the leaf scorch will not recover, but new leaves will be generated on these plants, and they will be better adapted to the current conditions, and leaf scorch should not be an issue. Right, so it just may take, you know, a week or two for the plants to adapt, and that's okay. They will adapt. But not all of the seedlings are really affected very much by it, right? So some of them are more so than others. Thank you so much for checking out this video on leaf scorch when transplanting peppers, and some basic steps we can take to mitigate some of that damage or prevent it, and also realizing that it's not necessarily always a huge problem, and some of these crops can grow out of it. But nonetheless, it's an important thing to look out for. Just realize that the plants don't actually have a disease. In this case, they're just adjusting to the new environmental conditions, right? And are working like crazy to try and reestablish themselves during that process as well. Their root system has been disturbed, and they're just trying to equilibrate with their environment. Some additional notes is during transplanting, or even before transplanting, it can be advantageous to not be too heavy on the nitrogen application, because that can make plants grow very fast and very quickly, and so it could be that the addition of nitrogen like that may actually make the plants more prone to a worse condition of leaf scorch. And then the other note I wanted to make is, in certain areas of my garden, like in certain areas of that bed where I was talking about with the sun-scorched peppers, is that in certain areas it is somewhat lightly shaded, right, at least through part of the day, between the milkweed and then also some of the staghorn sumac that is intermittently planted throughout that bed and throughout the rest of the garden. There is a little bit of shade that is cast, and I did notice in areas that did have access to more of that shade, it seemed like the sun scald was much less of an issue. Whereas in that open area where I was focusing in most of that video, the leaf scorch seemed to be a lot more present. So even just in terms of like naturally companion planting, some of these pepper plants can benefit from a little bit of shade, especially in areas where it can get really hot and sunny. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.